You were never meant to blend in, and the moment you stopped pretending, the real war began. Not the kind with fists or weapons, but one of energy, silence, and intention. Chosen ones, listen carefully. The shadows never hated your light until it exposed what they wanted to keep hidden. Your presence alone breaks their illusions. Your rise shatters the comfort of their deception. And now, they're scrambling. Every plan they made in secret is unraveling in public. They tried to disorient you with confusion, bury you under false labels, and weaponize your empathy against you. But here's what they didn't prepare for: your evolution. You moved in silence, but your results are loud. You never begged for validation, yet your power haunts them louder than applause ever could. And every devilish move they made, it only lit a stronger fire in you. They threw shadows. You became lightning. They built traps. You became the earthquake. They're no longer playing games, they're playing defense. Because you've become the one thing they can't manipulate. Awakened, aware, and unshakable. This isn't about revenge. It's about recognition. You didn't ask for power, but now they fear your presence and obsess over your absence. And that's what it means to be chosen. Your very existence becomes their downfall. If you feel this message in your chest, like it's your truth being spoken out loud, pause for a moment, breathe, and remind yourself, they tried everything, and you still rose. Now, if this resonates, like the battle you're in finally makes sense, show your alignment. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay close. Because what's coming next will not just confirm your strength, it will declare it. Before moving ahead, let me pause and pour out sincere thanks to those of you who have supported this mission through Super Thanks. Your generosity is more than a donation, it's a divine confirmation. It tells me your spirit recognizes the warfare, the awakening, and the truth we speak here. You're not just watching from the sidelines, you're part of the light that's dismantling deception. Because of you, this message reaches those still trapped in confusion. If your soul knows this battle, if your spirit echoes with clarity, comment 999 below, not for show, but as a quiet sign you're walking in divine alignment. Number 1. Catch the lie early or drown in their illusion. They underestimated the quiet ones, the ones who didn't need a stage, who didn't chase validation, who watched in silence while others lied with charm. But you, chosen one, you weren't sleeping, you were studying. And now the time has come and their tactics are falling apart faster than they can rebuild them. Every lie they whispered, every trick they played, every illusion they planted, it's all collapsing under the weight of your awareness. What used to control you now looks laughably weak. You see it clearly. Their manipulation was smoke, but your truth is wildfire. They thought their sweet words would tame you, their false promises would bind you, but the moment you stopped doubting yourself, their influence snapped like brittle glass. Chosen one, you are not who you once were. You've evolved. What once wounded you now bounces off your armor of self-belief. That's what they didn't expect. That's what's haunting them now. They see a version of you they can't reach, can't break, and can't control, and that terrifies them. These manipulators, they're not powerful. They're performers in costumes, wolves dressed like sheep, hoping you'll believe the mask. But the moment your inner vision sharpened, their entire show lost its magic. You didn't just stop playing their game, you flipped the board and walked away. That's what rattled their foundation. You didn't scream, you didn't beg, you didn't try to prove anything. You just stood in truth. And the truth? It was nuclear. Let them tremble. Let them scramble. Because with every lie they try to tell now, more people see what you saw first. You weren't just the target. They made you the teacher, the one who slices through delusion like a blade through fog. You are the mirror they can't avoid, the proof that their reign is over. The chosen don't fight for control, they are control. And now, no matter how much they resist, they can't stop what's coming. The energy has shifted, the air has changed. You are rising and they are unraveling. Their fear isn't about what you've said, it's about what you've become. Untouchable, unshakable, unstoppable. So raise your head, chosen one. This battle was never about noise, it was always about light. And your light, it's blinding. Number 2. Don't mistake their anger for strength. It's just panic wearing a mask. They raise their voice, throw tantrums, slam doors, and make scenes. And you're supposed to think it's power. But chosen ones, don't be fooled. That rage, that fury, it's not dominance, it's fear in disguise. When a manipulator starts losing control, the first thing they reach for is anger. Why? Because it's loud, it's chaotic, and it distracts you from the truth. They're unraveling. You didn't hurt them, you exposed them, and now they're flailing, desperate to flip the script. They want you to question yourself, to wonder if you were too harsh, too cold, too changed. But the real story, you stopped playing dumb, you stopped giving them room to twist the truth, and now, with no narrative to hide behind, they're exposed, vulnerable, scared. Their anger isn't strength, it's their last attempt to scare you back into silence. But you're not the same person who once bowed to their moods. You see through it now. Their volume doesn't shake you. Their outbursts don't move you. Because you've learned the golden rule of power. The one who controls their emotions, controls the room. So when they rage, stay still. When they lash out, stay centered. That silence, that calm, that's real power. That's what makes you the threat. Stay grounded, chosen one. Let them burn out in their own chaos. You're built different now. Number 3. Stop handing them power. They're not as strong as you think. They only looked powerful because you kept handing them your peace. Every doubt, every second guess, every time you stayed silent when they crossed a line, that was energy they fed on. But here's the hard truth. Chosen one, they were never powerful. They were just good at pretending. Their strength was never real. It was built entirely on your hesitation. They watched how much you cared and used that against you. They studied your silence and misread it as weakness. But now, you've taken it all back, and they don't know what to do with themselves. Chosen ones, they fooled others with masks and manipulation. But you're different. You see through their smiles now. You recognize the tactics, the guilt trips, the fake concern, the twisted stories. It's all recycled, it's all tired, and most importantly, it no longer works on you. You've stopped reacting, you've stopped justifying, you've stopped playing along, and in doing that, you shattered the illusion they depended on. Understand this, no one can control you unless you allow it. And now that you've removed their access to your energy, they're panicking, their tricks fall flat, their words feel empty, their presence no longer intimidates. Why? Because you finally realized they never had real power. You were the power. Keep rising. Keep your power. Let them collapse under the weight of their own weakness. They weren't strong, you were just too generous. But those days are over. Let them sit with the silence. You've moved on. If this message spoke to something deep in you, like a quiet confirmation of what you already knew, feel free to like the video and subscribe, not out of obligation, but as a small act of alignment with your truth and this shared journey. Number 4. Escape the confusion game. It's how they keep you trapped. They didn't need chains to hold you down. They used confusion. One day they praised you, the next they punished your silence. They smiled while they twisted the knife behind your back. And you, chosen one, tried to make sense of it, until you realized that was the whole point. Confusion was the trap. It wasn't chaos by accident, it was control by design. They needed you to question yourself. They needed you to second-guess your instincts. That was their favorite game. The more you searched for clarity in their madness, the more power they held. But you're not in that fog anymore. You've snapped out of their spell. You now understand that real power isn't loud, it's clear. And clarity is exactly what makes them panic. The moment you began trusting your gut, seeing the patterns, and noticing the contradictions, they lost their grip. You stopped reacting. You started observing. And when a chosen one sees through manipulation, the manipulator collapses. Why? Because they were never strong. Their entire strategy was built on your confusion. Without that, they're powerless. Now they flail. They try harder. They create drama, but you see the playbook. You're not falling for it again. You escaped the confusion game, and that alone is the revolution. You rewrote the rules, you ended the fog, and now they sit in the darkness they once designed for you. Stay clear, stay sharp. You were never the problem. You were just the only one awake. Let them drown in their own illusions. You're walking in truth now. And that kind of clarity, that's lethal. Drop 999 in the comments if you're done falling for the noise and you've chosen clarity over chaos. Let's keep going. You've only just begun. Number 5. Let them climb their lie, then watch them fall from it. They kept climbing higher, didn't they? Layer after layer of lies, one on top of the other. Carefully stacked, perfectly polished, all to make you look like the problem while they played the innocent. But here's what they never saw coming. Every step they took upward wasn't power. It was a setup. Chosen one, you didn't even have to push. They built their own downfall. They lied so well, they started to believe it themselves. That's the real danger. When a manipulator becomes addicted to their own illusion, they lose grip on reality, and that's exactly what happened. They crafted a fantasy so thick with deception that even they can't escape it now. But you didn't just break free, you lit a match on your way out. Now, they're stuck at the top of a tower made of false stories and fake smiles, and the higher they climbed, the harder the fall. You were the mirror, the trigger, the one who refused to keep playing along, and that's why it's crashing. They didn't expect you to see through it. They thought you'd stay small, but your silence was strategy, your distance was power, and your truth. It's gravity. It pulls down every lie they built, brick by brick. So let them fall. You don't have to fight. You don't have to explain. You just have to keep rising while their empire of lies caves in on itself. That's the cost of underestimating a chosen one. You weren't sent to argue. You were sent to expose. And now there's no going back. Their truth is finally catching up, and it's a long way down. Number 6. Starve their ego. It can't survive without your attention. They fed off your reactions. Every time you explained yourself, every time you defended your name, every time you gave them space in your mind, they grew stronger. But now, you've cut the supply. You've stopped nourishing the very ego that once drained you dry. And the silence you've given them, it's not passive, it's powerful. It's the loudest form of rejection, because without your attention, they shrivel. Without your validation, they lose their illusion of control. Chosen ones understand this. Their entire sense of power was built on the lie that they mattered more than you, that they could toy with your emotions and always pull you back in. But they never saw this version of you coming, the version that doesn't explain, doesn't argue, and doesn't play their emotional chess anymore. You became still. And in your stillness, they started panicking. Why? Because without your energy, they're irrelevant. Now they're scrambling, throwing bait, starting drama, acting louder, playing victim, but don't fall for it. They want a reaction. Don't give it to them. Let their egos starve. Let them sit in the silence they never thought you were capable of. You don't have to raise your voice to shatter their illusion. Your absence does it for you. You were never the dependent one. You were the fuel. And now that you've cut them off, they're just an empty engine with no power to move. So stay calm, stay distant, keep your peace. Because they're not upset that you're gone, they're devastated that you no longer care. And nothing destroys a manipulator faster than being ignored by the very person they thought they controlled. Let them wither. You've already won. Number 7. Break their script. Your questions are their collapse. They built the whole thing banking on your silence, a perfect little script written in secret, where you play the fool, they play the hero, and everyone else claps for the lie. But here's where the plot twists. You started asking questions, and just like that, the whole show began to fall apart. Chosen one, they never feared your anger. They feared your awareness. The moment you questioned their version of reality, their mask started to melt. You saw the contradictions. You caught the timeline shifts. 1 minute they're the victim, the next they're the villain, but always trying to keep you confused enough not to notice. Until you did. And when you did, they didn't just lose control of you, they lost control of the entire narrative. Chosen ones don't obey silent scripts. You weren't born to follow their lines. You were born to expose them. You cracked their fake story open without raising your voice, without swinging your fists, just by refusing to nod along. And now, they're scrambling to improvise, sweating under the spotlight they once demanded. Because once the questions start, the illusion can't survive. They don't know what to do with someone who won't be controlled. So now they call you the problem. They flip the blame. They try to provoke a reaction. But you've already won. You're the glitch in their program, the plot twist they didn't prepare for. So don't stop. Keep questioning. Keep noticing. Keep stepping out of the box they tried to trap you in. Their kingdom was made of smoke, and you are the wind. If this hits deep, like you've been the only one who noticed the cracks, drop 777 in the comments. Let them know. Chosen ones don't follow scripts. We rewrite them. Number 8. Walk away quietly. Your success will finish the job. They wanted your reaction. They wanted the chaos. They wanted you to break down publicly so they could play innocent behind the scenes. But you chose silence. You chose evolution. And that, right there, is what broke them. Chosen ones, when you walk away without a word, when you cut off access and don't explain, you do more damage than any argument ever could. Your exit wasn't weakness. It was strategy. It was power. It was the beginning of their unraveling. They thought the game would continue. They thought they'd always have a way back in. But you walked away quietly, and now your silence is screaming louder than their lies. They expected to haunt your future. Instead, they're stuck replaying the moment you disappeared. Because your absence, it's louder than your presence ever was. They didn't expect you to glow up in peace. They didn't expect you to rebuild without announcing it. And now every move you make, every level you reach, becomes a mirror they can't escape. The same people who tried to dim your light are now burning under its intensity. Your success is the fire they lit, but couldn't control. And now it's spreading, fast. You don't need revenge. You are the reminder. You are the proof. The one they talk down to is the one they now can't stop watching. So stay quiet, stay focused, let your progress do the talking. They underestimated the power of your silence. And now, they're learning the hard way. Your success was always the final blow. If you've walked away from chaos and you're letting peace do the punishing, drop 88 in the comments. And if this message is your truth, like the video and subscribe. We're just getting started. Number 9. Hold up the mirror, it'll do what words never could. They wanted control without consequence. They wanted to lie without ever being confronted. But chosen one, you were never built to be silent forever. You didn't need to scream, accuse, or expose them with drama. You just held up the mirror, and that alone shattered everything. They feared that mirror more than they feared judgment, because your growth, your clarity, your calm presence, it reflected everything they've been trying to hide. You didn't even have to say a word. Your energy alone made them uncomfortable, because it showed them who they really are when the mask falls off. You see, manipulators rely on confusion, but when you become the mirror, you don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. You just live in your truth, and their lies start to rot in real time. They begin projecting, accusing, spinning the story, trying to drag you into chaos again. But it's not you they're mad at. It's what your presence reveals. You are the unspoken truth they've been running from, the walking reflection of everything they've pretended not to be. That's why they lash out. That's why they can't stand to see you heal, because every step forward you take is a reminder of how stuck they are. So stay grounded, stay silent, stay true. You're not here to convince anyone. You're here to reveal what's real, and nothing breaks a false reality faster than a reflection too raw to ignore. Let them squirm, let them blame. That's part of the unraveling. Just know this, by holding up that mirror, you already won. Drop 999 in the comments if you're done explaining yourself and ready to let your clarity do the talking. You don't owe anyone noise, your light is loud enough. Number 10. Cut off their control. Fix. They're addicted to your submission. They weren't looking for love, they were looking for a fix. Chosen one, understand this clearly. Their obsession was never about you. It was about the power they felt when you bowed your head, when you second-guessed yourself, when you stayed quiet to keep the peace. That silence, that was their drug, that self-doubt. It fed their ego like fuel to fire. They got high off your hesitation, intoxicated by the way they could push your buttons and watch you fold. But now you've cut them off cold, and they're spiraling. You stopped playing their game. You stopped explaining, apologizing, and waiting for their approval. And with every boundary you built, they started twitching. Like addicts in withdrawal, they come back with guilt, drama, promises, rage, anything to get one more hit of control. But it won't work, because you've upgraded from their puppet to your own master. The leash is off. The illusion is shattered. They're losing their grip, not because you fought them, but because you no longer need them. That's the real pain. You starved the very addiction that kept them powerful. You became immune to their tactics, blind to their gaslighting, unfazed by their guilt trips, and that's what burns them the most. You walked away, not broken, but bold. Let them scream. Let them pretend they don't care. Behind closed doors, they're unraveling because the chosen one finally cut the cord. You were their supply. Now you're the silence that echoes too loud to ignore. And remember this, their biggest fear wasn't losing you. It was losing the version of you they could control. Comment 999 if you know you've broken the cycle. Like this message and subscribe if you've ever walked away and watched their power vanish in your absence. Number 11. Don't be their victim. Be the lesson that haunts them. They thought they had you figured out, that you'd break quietly, that you'd sit in silence, confused and questioning your worth, while they walked away wearing the mask of innocence. But chosen one, you flipped the entire script. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You became the proof that their manipulation failed. And now, you're not their victim, you're their lesson. The one they can't outrun, the one that keeps showing up in their mind like a ghost they thought they buried. They once saw you as easy to break, easy to bend. But the truth is, you were never weak. You were just patient. You were absorbing everything, every insult, every guilt trip, every false story they crafted behind your back. And instead of folding, you built a version of yourself they never thought you'd become. A version that doesn't flinch, that doesn't need closure, that doesn't seek revenge, because your growth is the revenge. Now, every time they hear your name, see your face, or remember the way you walked away without begging, they feel it. That sting, that realization, that regret. You didn't just outgrow them, you exposed the fact that they never had power to begin with. So, don't shrink. Don't explain. Don't step back into a version of yourself that existed only to comfort their ego. The game is over. You are no longer part of their fantasy. You are the wake-up call they never expected but can't forget. Keep rising, chosen one. Keep shining. Let your strength echo, because you are not their victim. You are the storm they'll never recover from. Number 12. Stand in truth. It's the only thing that destroys their fantasy. They built their whole world on a lie, and for a while it worked, until you stood up and stopped playing along. Chosen ones, understand this. Your truth isn't just uncomfortable to them, it's lethal. Because once you stopped pretending, once you stopped shrinking yourself to fit into their false reality, their entire fantasy began to collapse. Not because you fought, not because you screamed, but because you simply stood still and stood true. That's what scares them. Your truth is clean. It doesn't shout, it exposes. And people who survive by manipulation can't handle exposure. They melt under it. That's why they panic when you stop explaining yourself. That's why they lash out when you no longer bend. You didn't change the story. You just stopped letting them write it for you. Chosen one, the moment you stopped apologizing for seeing clearly, the game shifted. You don't need to convince anyone. Your energy speaks for itself. And their illusion, it only survives when you co-sign it. You pulled back your signature. You walked out of their performance. And now they're stuck on a stage with no script, no mask, no audience. They can't handle the heat because the truth burns. And you are the flame. So don't waver, don't dim, don't flinch. Every time you stand in truth, another piece of their false kingdom turns to dust. Hold your ground. Truth is your weapon. Before we close, let this settle in your spirit. When you stand in truth, you no longer need to fight for clarity. The lies unravel themselves. The chaos collapses on its own. Chosen one, your strength is not in how loud you speak, but in how deeply you see. Every time you choose truth over approval, silence over chaos, clarity over confusion, you win. They can't stand in the fire you walk through. You were built for this. If this message confirmed what your soul already knew, like the video and subscribe, not as a routine, but as a quiet stand for who you truly are.